The fastest way to make them regret replacing you is to become someone they can never replace. Let that sink in, because right now, someone out there thinks they can trade you in like you were an outdated phone they could swap for a newer model, like you were just another option in a world full of replacements. At first, it seems like they are doing just fine. They're smiling, posting, pretending like you never existed. They act like walking away was the easiest decision they ever made. But here's the truth. Replacements don't feel the same as the real thing, and sooner or later, that reality is going to hit them. People don't regret losing you immediately. Regret doesn't come fast. It creeps in slowly, hitting them when the excitement wears off, when the new person doesn't understand them the way you did, and when they start to compare. That's when it happens. They realize they didn't upgrade, they downgraded. But by the time that moment comes, you want to make damn sure they know they lost something they can never get back. Before we go any further, hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because what's coming next is going to change the way you see this situation forever. Hey folks, imagine this. You walk into your favorite coffee shop every morning. The staff knows your order, they greet you with a smile, and the coffee is perfect. But one day you think, maybe I'll try something different. You go to a new place. The menu looks fancy, the place is packed, and it feels exciting. But then, after a few days, you realize the coffee isn't that great, the service isn't as friendly, and worst of all, the place doesn't feel the same. So what do? You go back to your old spot, but guess what? It's too late. They've moved on, and they don't recognize you anymore. That place, which once felt like home, now feels like a stranger. That's exactly what happens when someone replaces you. At first they think they're winning, they believe they found something better, but eventually they realize what they had was rare, what they had was special, and what they had, they threw away. But here's where most people mess up. They think the way to make someone regret losing them is by showing off, by posting pictures, by making sure their ex sees how good they're doing. But that's not power, that's desperation. The real way to make them regret it is through silence. Disappear. Stop watching them. Stop waiting for them to notice you. Stop making them think they still have access to you, because the second they realize they can't reach you anymore, that's when they feel it. And listen, I know what you're thinking. What if they really did replace me? What if they're happier without me? What if I was never that special to begin with? Let me tell you something. People don't replace valuable things. They only replace what they took for granted. If they walked away thinking they could find another you, that wasn't a reflection of you. That was a reflection of their blindness, their stupidity, and their inability to recognize quality when it was right in front of them. But their mistake, that's not your problem. Because while they're out there trying to recreate what they had with you, you're leveling up. You're stepping into a version of yourself that doesn't need to be seen, doesn't need to prove anything, and doesn't need to convince anyone of your worth. By the time they realize what they lost, by the time they come crawling back, you won't even care. So now, my friends, it's time to make a choice. Are you going to sit around watching their every move, hoping they wake up and see what they lost? Or are you going to become the person they can never have again? Say it with me. I am irreplaceable. Write it in the comments. Show them, show yourself, show the world that you are done waiting for someone to see your worth. Because what's coming next is going to make sure they never forget what they lost. Stay with me. This is just the beginning. Number 1, don't chase. Disappear instead. You never lose by walking away. You lose by staying where you're not valued. Let that hit you. Because right now, someone expects you to fight for them. They think you're going to prove yourself, that you're going to chase them, beg them, and show them they made a mistake. They think they have you figured out, that no matter what they do, you'll still be there, watching, waiting, hoping they'll come back. But here's where you shock them. You don't fight, you don't beg, you don't prove a damn thing. You disappear. No messages, no checking their social media, no trying to make them jealous. Just vanish. That will haunt them because people don't appreciate what they can always reach. They only start valuing something the moment they realize they can't have it anymore. Imagine this. You've been drinking from the same well your whole life. Every time you're thirsty, it's there, fresh, reliable. You never think twice about it. Then one day, you go back and it's dry, gone, no warning, no explanation. Suddenly, you feel desperate, but it's too late. That source of comfort, that guarantee you once had, is no longer yours. That's exactly how people feel when you disappear. But right now, I know what's going through your mind. What if they don't care? What if they really did replace me? What if I walk away and they never look back? Let me tell you something. If someone can forget you just because you stopped chasing them, they were never yours to begin with. Yet, you're still convincing yourself that if you just try a little harder, if you just show them your worth, they'll wake up and realize they made a mistake. But let's be real. If they didn't see your worth when they had you, why the hell would they see it now? That's the lie you've been fed. Society tells you to fight for love, to prove your value, to go after what you want. But let me ask you, when was the last time chasing someone actually worked? When was the last time begging made someone respect you? When was the last time convincing someone to love you actually felt good? You know the answer. Because the truth is, the people who deserve you don't need to be convinced, and the ones who do need convincing will never truly appreciate you. And here's the part no one tells you. Disappearing is hard. It's not just about ignoring their messages. It's not just about staying off their page. It's about breaking the habit of wanting to be seen, wanting to be acknowledged, wanting to feel chosen. And that's the hardest part because silence is loud. It forces you to sit with your emotions, to resist the urge to check in, to stop making excuses for someone who never deserved you in the first place. Trust me, there will be moments when you'll want to break. You'll think, maybe I should just say something. Maybe they just need a little push. Maybe they forgot about me. But don't. Because the second you break your silence, the second you reach out, the second you give them even a hint that you're still there, you lose. They relax. They think, oh, I still have them. They're still watching. They still care. And just like that, they stop feeling the loss, and you set yourself back to square one. But here's where the power is. The longer you stay silent, the louder your absence becomes. At first, they won't care. They'll be distracted. They'll feel free. But slowly it will creep in. They'll check to see if you've watched their stories. Nothing. They'll post things hoping you'll react. Silence. They'll send that weak, "How have you been?" text expecting you to answer. And when you don't, that's when it hits them. They don't know you anymore. They don't have you anymore. And nothing breaks a person more than realizing they lost something irreplaceable. Because here's the truth. People only chase what's running away. The second you make yourself unavailable, the second you stop trying, the second you disappear, that's when they start feeling your absence. And when they finally wake up, when they finally realize what they lost, you won't even care. Because this isn't about making them miss you. This isn't about teaching them a lesson. This is about you finally seeing your own worth. This is about you realizing that you never had to chase anyone, because the person who truly sees your value will never put you in a position where you have to prove it. So now, my friend, it's time to make a choice. Are you going to keep waiting, keep checking their page, keep hoping they'll realize what they lost? Or are you going to walk away completely with no intention of ever looking back? Say it with me. I do not chase. I attract. Write it in the comments. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you are done proving your worth to people who never deserved it, because what's coming next is going to make sure they never forget what they lost. Stay with me. We're just getting started. Number 2, never compete with the replacement. A diamond doesn't compete with a rock. It just is. Let that sink in, because right now, someone wants you to feel like you lost, like you weren't good enough, like someone else was better than you. And maybe for a moment you believed it. You saw them moving on, laughing, acting like replacing you was the easiest thing in the world. And that stings. But here's the truth no one tells you. It was never about better. It was about different. Because people don't always leave for an upgrade. Most of the time, they leave because they want something new, a different experience, a fresh distraction. Something that makes them feel excited again, even if it's temporary. And yet, here you are sitting in self-doubt, wondering, what do they have that I don't? Let me tell you something, you were never the problem. But you've been conditioned to compete. Society tells you to be more attractive, more successful, more exciting, like love is some kind of contest, and the person who does the most wins. But let me ask you, since when does real value need to prove itself? Since when does a diamond need to compete with a rock? It doesn't. You don't fight for a spot in someone's life. You don't prove you were the better choice. You let time do the proving for you, because the moment they see the difference, the moment the excitement of their new choice fades, the moment they start comparing, that's when the regret starts. Imagine this. You walk into a high-end restaurant. The food is perfect, the service is top tier, the experience is unmatched. But one day you think, maybe I'll try something new. You go to a cheap fast food place instead. It's fun at first, it's different, it's easy. But after a while, you start missing the quality you once had. You start craving what you took for granted. And when you finally realize you want to go back, you can't. That high-end restaurant has moved on, and now you're stuck with the cheap meal you thought was an upgrade. That's exactly how it happens. At first, they're excited about the new person. Everything feels fresh, different, easy. But soon, reality kicks in. Soon they start comparing. Soon they realize what they lost. And that's when they start looking back. But the mistake most people make is they try to speed up the process. They try to show their worth. They think, if I just prove that I was the better choice, they'll regret it faster. But you don't prove your worth. You become it. No competing, no comparisons, no trying to make them jealous. You step back, you focus on your life, you build your peace, and while they're out there trying to convince themselves that they made the right choice, you're moving forward like they never even existed. And trust me, that will break them more than anything else. Because let me tell you something about people who replace you. They want you to compete. They want you to feel insecure. They want to believe that you're watching, waiting, comparing yourself to their new situation. But when you refuse to play the game, when you don't check up on them, don't react, and don't make it seem like you even care, that's when their confidence shatters. Because the biggest regret isn't losing someone who begs to be chosen. It's losing someone who never needed to be chosen in the first place. So tell me, are you done competing? Are you done feeling like you have to prove yourself to someone who already made their choice? Then say it with me. I am beyond comparison. Write it in the comments. Show them, show yourself, show the world that you don't compete, you rise. Because what's coming next is going to make sure they never forget what they lost. Stay with me, we're just getting started. Number 3, level up in silence. They expected you to be broken. Instead, you became unstoppable. Let that sink in, because right now, someone out there is counting on your downfall. They walked away believing you'd never recover, that you'd be stuck in the same place, replaying old memories, waiting for them to come back. They expected to look over their shoulder and see you struggling while they moved forward without a care in the world. But what if instead of proving them right, you shocked them into silence? No sad posts, no hints, no petty, "look how happy I am without you" moments, just pure, quiet elevation. Because here's the truth, they're going to check. Maybe not today, maybe not next week, but at some point they're going to wonder. They're going to type your name into that search bar. They're going to scroll, hoping to find proof that you still care, that you're still affected, that they still have some kind of power over you. And when they finally do, they won't even recognize the person you've become. Imagine this. You walk past a house every day. It's run down, falling apart. You stop noticing it. You assume it'll always be there, looking the same. Then one day you walk by and boom, it's unrecognizable. It's been rebuilt, transformed, upgraded into something incredible. And suddenly, you regret ever looking past it. That's what happens when you level up in silence. But here's where most people mess up. They think leveling up means showing off, posting thirst traps, throwing shade, making sure their ex sees how well they're doing. But let me tell you something. That's not power. That's desperation. Because real elevation doesn't need an audience. You don't need to prove you're doing better. You don't need to convince anyone that you've moved on. You just become someone they can't ignore. And trust me, that will haunt them more than any post ever could, because silence creates mystery, and mystery makes people obsess. Right now, they think they know you. They think they can predict your moves. But when they finally check in and realize you're nowhere to be found, that's when the regret sets in. Because people don't regret losing someone who's still stuck in the past. They regret losing someone who outgrew them completely. Let's be real. This won't be easy at first. You'll want to be seen. You'll want them to notice. You'll want to prove that you're thriving without them. But that's just the ego talking. That's just the old you. The one who thought love had to be earned. The one who believed you needed their validation to feel worthy. But the version of you that's coming, the one who doesn't seek approval, doesn't look back, doesn't need anyone to confirm their worth. That version of you is dangerous. That version of you is unstoppable. And when they finally realize they lost someone irreplaceable, you'll be too far ahead to even notice. So now, my friends, you have a decision to make. Are you going to stay where they left you, waiting, hoping, trying to prove something? Or are you going to disappear, rebuild, and come back as someone so powerful, so unreachable, that by the time they even think of looking for you, you'll be gone? Say it with me. I am elevating in silence. Write it in the comments. Show them, show yourself, show the world that you are done waiting for someone to see your worth. Because what's coming next is going to make sure they never forget what they lost. Stay with me. We're just getting started. Number 4, let reality hit them hard. What they thought was an upgrade was just a distraction. Let that sink in, because right now they think they've won. They think they walked away, found something better, and left you in the past. They're smiling, posting, showing off their new happiness like it's the greatest thing that's ever happened to them. But here's what they don't realize yet. New doesn't mean better. It just means unfamiliar. And unfamiliar is exciting for a while because, let's be real, every new thing has a honeymoon phase. A new relationship, a new job, a new car. It all feels thrilling at first. It's fresh, it's different, it doesn't have history. But the real test isn't how exciting something feels in the beginning. It's what happens when the novelty wears off. And that's when the truth starts creeping in, because they can distract themselves with someone new, but they can't replace the connection they had with you. At first, they'll ignore it. They'll convince themselves they made the right choice. They'll pretend they're happier now, that you were just another phase, that their new situation is so much better. But then it starts. The little things, the comparisons, the missing pieces. They'll start noticing that this new person doesn't understand them like you did, doesn't make them feel the same way, doesn't laugh at the same jokes, and doesn't bring them that same sense of home. Here's the truth. They won't admit it, But when they left you, they weren't looking for something better. They were looking for something easier, someone who wouldn't challenge them, someone who wouldn't hold them accountable, someone who wouldn't make them grow. But easy gets boring, and that's when reality hits them. Imagine this. You go on vacation to an exotic island. The beaches are perfect, the sunsets are magical, the escape feels amazing. But after a while, you start missing home. You start craving your own bed, your favorite coffee shop, the feeling of comfort that no paradise can replace. And suddenly, that once exciting trip doesn't feel so great anymore. That's exactly what happens when someone trades you in for a new experience. They enjoy it, they soak it up. But eventually, they miss what they left behind because what they thought was an upgrade was just a temporary thrill. And the worst part? By the time they realize this, by the time they fully understand what they lost, you won't even be available anymore. And that's the moment they'll regret everything. But here's where most people mess up. They want to rush the process. They want to prove their worth. They want to show their ex how wrong they were for leaving. But you don't need to prove anything. You just need to let time do its job, because trust me, when someone walks away thinking they can replace you, there's nothing more powerful than letting them experience that mistake in real time. No sad posts, no trying to show them you've moved on, no "look how great I'm doing" attempts to get their attention. Just silence, just distance, just you moving forward like they never even mattered. Because while they're busy realizing the truth that they lost something irreplaceable, you'll be too far ahead to even notice. So now, my friends, it's time to make a choice. Are you going to sit there wondering if they miss you? Or are you going to let them feel the full weight of their mistake while you move on to something greater? Say it with me. I am irreplaceable. Write it in the comments. Show them, show yourself, show the world that you don't need to compete, don't need to convince, and don't need to chase. Number 5, don't take them back when they regret it. A door that closes behind you should never reopen. Let that sink in, because right now, someone out there is realizing what they lost. They didn't care when they walked away. They didn't hesitate when they replaced you. They thought they could find better, but now they see the difference. Now they feel the loss. And guess what? They're coming back. They always come back, not because they've changed, not because they suddenly understand your worth, not because they finally see you for who you are. No, they're coming back because they failed. They tried to replace you, and it didn't work. They thought they could do better, and reality just punched them in the face. But here's where most people mess up. The moment that message comes through, the "I miss you" text, the "how have you been" breadcrumb, the sudden check-in after months of silence, you hesitate. A part of you wants to believe it's real. A part of you wants to believe they finally get it. A part of you wants to open that door just a little, just to see. But let me tell you something. If someone had to lose you just to see your value, they never truly valued you. And if you take them back, if you let them slide back into your life like nothing happened, all you're doing is teaching them that leaving you had no real consequences, that they can walk away, replace you, treat you like an option, and still come back when they feel like it. And the second they realize that, they relax, because now they know they don't really have to respect you. They don't really have to choose you. They don't really have to change. They just have to wait for you to miss them enough to let them back in, and that's how you lose yourself all over again. Imagine this. You quit a job where they underpaid you, overworked you, and never appreciated you. You finally find something better, something that values you, something that makes you realize how badly you were treated before. But then one day your old boss calls, "We miss you. Things will be different this time. We realize what we had." And for a moment, you consider it because it's familiar, because you spent so much time in that place, and part of you still feels connected to it. But then you remember the stress, the disrespect, the way they never saw your worth until you were gone. Would you go back? Number. So why the hell would you go back to a person who did the same thing to your heart? Because here's the truth. People don't regret losing you. They regret losing access to you. They regret losing your loyalty, your energy, your presence. They regret losing the comfort of knowing you were always there. They regret losing their safety net. But do they regret how they treated you? Do they regret who they were when they had you? Do they regret the choices they made that made you walk away? No, because if they did, they would have never risked losing you in the first place. And that's why you don't open the door. That's why you don't answer. That's why you don't fall for their weak attempts to slide back into your life. Because you're not backup. You're not a second chance. You're the lesson they had to learn the hard way. And once they learn it, once they sit in the regret, the emptiness, the pain of realizing they had something irreplaceable and let it go, that's their burden to carry, not yours, because you're too busy winning to even notice their knocking. So now, my friends, it's time to make a choice. Are you going to be their fallback plan, their safety net, their backup option when life doesn't work out the way they thought it would? Or are you going to lock the damn door and never look back? Say it with me. I do not reopen closed doors. Write it in the comments. Show them, show yourself, show the world that once someone loses you, there's no coming back. Number 6, give them the gift of missing you. Absence makes the heart grow fonder or torments the one who took you for granted. Let that hit you, because right now, someone out there expects you to remind them of what they lost. They think you'll linger, that you'll check in, that you'll make sure they don't forget you. But my friends, you don't remind them. You become the loss. No accidental run-ins, no weak, just checking in messages, no cryptic posts hoping they'll take the hint. Just distance, silence, a void they never thought they'd have to feel. And trust me, that void gets louder because people don't truly miss something until it's gone. At first, they don't care. They're distracted. They're enjoying the thrill of moving on. They might even believe they're better off without you, and maybe for a while they are. But time changes everything, because what they don't realize is this. People can't just replace energy. They can find someone new, someone different. But that feeling, that comfort, that connection, they won't find it again. And that's when the silence starts messing with them. Imagine this. You wake up every morning to the sound of a song playing softly in the background. It's always there, always familiar. You don't even notice it anymore. Then one day, silence. The music is gone. And suddenly you realize just how much space it took up in your world. Now you notice the silence, now it bothers you, and the worst part, you don't know how to bring it back. That's exactly how it works when you disappear, because they took you for granted. You were always there. They assumed you'd always pick up, always reply, always be within reach until one day you weren't. And now they have to sit in that emptiness. Here's where most people mess up. They panic. They think, what if they don't miss me? What if they move on? What if I wait too long and they forget about me? So they break. They send a text. They check in. They accidentally bump into them just to see if the absence is working. And in that moment, they lose, because the second they reach out, the second they try to speed up the process, they relieve the other person's discomfort. They let them know, hey, I'm still here. You haven't really lost me. And just like that, the power shifts back into the hands of the one who walked away. But when you hold that silence, when you truly disappear, when they look for you and realize you're gone, that's when regret sets in, because now they don't get to choose when they hear from you again. They don't get to decide when they get closure. They don't get to control the narrative, and that destroys them. But let's be real, this won't be easy, because silence isn't just for them, it's for you. It forces you to break your own habits, the habit of reaching out, the habit of waiting, the habit of believing they need to acknowledge your absence in order for it to matter. They don't. Because trust me, when someone realizes they lost something real, they feel it. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually the silence catches up to them. So don't break it, don't reach out, don't remind them. Let time be your messenger, because the biggest punishment for someone who took you for granted isn't anger. It's not revenge. It's knowing that the one thing they thought they could always come back to isn't there anymore. So tell me, are you ready to stop proving your worth and start making them feel the weight of losing you? Then say it with me. I am the loss they will feel forever. Write it in the comments. Show them, show yourself, show the world that you are done making it easy for people to take you for granted, because what's coming next is going to make sure they never forget what they lost. Stay with me, we're just getting started. Number 7, be so unreachable it hurts. Scarcity creates value, and right now, you've been too available. Let that hit you, because right now, someone out there thinks they still have you. Maybe not officially, maybe not publicly, but in the back of their mind, they believe that if they ever get bored, if they ever feel lonely, if their new situation doesn't work out, you'll still be there. And why wouldn't they think that? You were always there before, always answering, always checking in, always leaving a door open just in case they wanted to come back. And that's why they don't truly feel the loss yet, because people don't appreciate consistent access. They appreciate scarcity. Think about it. Why do people spend thousands on luxury brands? Why do they wait in line for hours to get something exclusive? Because it's rare. Because not everyone can have it. The moment something becomes too available, it loses its value. And that's exactly what's happened here. They don't fear losing you because they never felt like they lost you. Maybe you stopped talking, maybe you pulled back a little, but deep down, they still believe you're reachable, that if they send a message, you'll reply, that if they drop a, "Hey, how have you been?" text, you'll take the bait. But here's where you flip the script. You become rare. You become untouchable. You remove yourself in a way that stings, not out of pettiness, not out of spite, but because you are done being someone's backup plan. The moment they realize you're truly gone, that's when they start wanting you back, because now they can't just reach out and expect you to be there. Now they can't just assume you're watching, waiting, hoping for another chance. Now they have to sit with the full weight of their decision. And that's when the regret sets in. Imagine this. You're listening to your favorite song on repeat every day. It's playing every time you hit play. It's there. You start to take it for granted. You don't think about it much anymore. But then one day, the song disappears. You can't find it anywhere. It's just gone. And suddenly, you need it back. You're desperate to hear it because now it's no longer available to you. That's exactly how people feel when you go completely unreachable. At first, they won't care. They'll act normal. They'll carry on like nothing happened. But time is a funny thing. It messes with people. It makes them remember. It makes them realize. And the longer you stay gone, the harder it hits them. But here's where most people mess up. They break their own silence. They peek at their ex's profile. They respond to a "How are you?" text just to prove they're doing fine. They check in because deep down they still want to feel chosen. And that's when they lose, because the second they know you're still watching, still available, still reachable, they relax. They stop feeling the loss. They stop caring. They know you're still an option, even if they don't take it right now. But you're done being an option because the version of you they remember, that person doesn't exist anymore. You're not waiting. You're not checking. You're not playing the same games. You're gone. And trust me, nothing breaks a person more than realizing they lost something irreplaceable. So now, my friends, It's time to decide. Are you going to keep making yourself available for someone who never truly valued you? Or are you going to step into the version of yourself that they can never reach again? Say it with me. I am untouchable. Write it in the comments. Show them, show yourself, show the world that you are done being within reach. Number 8, let karma do the work. You don't need revenge. Life handles that for you. Let that sink in, because right now you might be sitting there thinking about payback, thinking about how you can make them feel what they put you through, how you can make them regret it, how you can make them hurt. But my friends, let me tell you something. You don't have to do a damn thing, because karma doesn't miss. You see, the person they replaced you with, they won't feel the same. They won't love them the same. They won't be you. At first, it's all excitement. It's all new. It's all fun. But sooner or later, reality hits. And when it does, they'll realize they lost something they can never get back. And that will break them more than anything you could ever do. Imagine this. You had a one-of-a-kind jacket. It fit perfectly. It was warm, comfortable, something you could always rely on. But one day, you saw something flashier, something that looked exciting, trendy, different. So you tossed your old jacket aside and grabbed the new one. At first, it felt good. It was different. It was a change. But then it didn't feel right. It wasn't as comfortable. It wasn't as warm. It didn't fit the way your old one did. And suddenly, you missed what you threw away. But by the time you went back for it, it was gone. That's exactly how it happens. At first, they think they won. They think they upgraded. They think life is better without you. But then, little by little, cracks start to show. The excitement fades. The new person isn't the same. The emotional connection isn't as deep. The way they're treated isn't as special. And that's when regret starts creeping in. But here's where most people go wrong. They wait for it. They stalk their ex's page, hoping to see signs of struggle. They wonder, do they miss me yet? Do they regret it yet? Is karma working yet? But real power is when you don't even care when karma hits. Because while they're out there realizing their mistake, you're too busy winning to notice, too busy thriving, too busy becoming someone they couldn't even reach if they tried. And trust me, that is the worst kind of regret, because nothing eats people alive more than realizing they can never fix their biggest mistake. Nothing haunts them more than knowing the person they once had, the person who loved them, supported them, and gave them everything, is now untouchable. And when that day comes, when they finally understand what they lost, it won't even matter to you anymore, because you'll be too far ahead, too focused on your own happiness, too busy living the life they thought they'd be fine without. And that's how you win. So tell me, are you going to sit around waiting for karma, watching, hoping, checking to see if they regret it yet? Or are you going to level up so high that by the time they feel it, you won't even care? Say it with me. I don't chase revenge, I chase success. Write it in the comments. Show them, show yourself, show the world that you don't need to get even, because life does it for you. This isn't about revenge, it's about knowing your worth. Drop a comment right now. I am irreplaceable. Say it, own it, live it. Hit that like button, subscribe, and remember, when they finally realize they lost the best thing they ever had, you'll already be too far ahead to care.